We are live. Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on employment in Poland. I'm your moderator for the day. My name is Weronika Kovačová, and I'm here to guide you through today's webinar and moderate the whole session. While we are waiting for the rest of the attendees to tune in, I would like to just briefly give you some organizational details and also introduce you to our company and also to our fantastic speaker, Agnieszka Samborska. So without further ado, let me just share very briefly what's ahead of us today. And we will be talking about employment in Poland from a very complex perspective. We will walk you through costs, taxation, foreign employers, forms, types, and modes of employment. Also, we will dip into labor law, the civil law, new law on the reclassification agreements. We will also explore types of employment, obligatory steps for employment and documentation, terminations, working time, overtime, sick leave, vacation, and we will also touch upon the European Union Pay Transparency Directive. Now, this is very briefly just from my side, but before I give over the word to our speaker, I will just like to notify to you that we have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So when you see this button in the interface of this broadcast, feel free to submit your questions there, and we will do our best to answer at the end. Now, I would like to introduce you also to our speaker, Agnieszka Samborska, who is a legal advisor and partner at Accace Legal in Poland. Agnieszka has been with us since 2011, and she's highly specialized on establishing and terminating employment relationship, handling employee disputes, and implementing and developing internal regulations and procedures, focusing very high level on labor law. But she also specializes in global mobility, and this includes also obtaining work and residence permits. And on a day-to-day basis, she helps clients across multiple industries, having experience with IT, pharmaceutical, energy, and beauty. Now, I will also say a couple of words about our company, Accace. We are now this year 20 years already on the market, and basically what we do is we are serving as a proactive partner to companies. We are trying to make the operations of companies easier through smart and streamlined technology, and we are very strong on outsourcing and advisory as well. We have vast experience with small to large scale businesses across the whole globe, and we cover more than 60 locations globally thanks to our partner network, Accace Circle. We are engaging over 7,000 experts from tax, payroll, accounting, legal, and corporate services, and we also service over 80,000 clients. About our services, as I mentioned, we are doing advisory and both BPO. Under advisory, we specialize on taxes, transactions, legal advisory, and corporate services. On the BPO side, we are doing accounting and reporting, and we are also specializing in payroll and HR administration services. Now, today we have Agnieszka from the legal sector, so I would like to focus a little bit also on our legal side. We have full-fledged law offices across many of our locations, such as Poland, Czech Republic, Romania, Slovakia, and Hungary. We also have legal advisors in Ukraine, and with our trusted network of partner law firms, we are also present in other jurisdictions. We do mostly comprehensive legal services such as corporate advisory, labor law, legal advisory, and such. We also do GDPR, insolvency, and restructuring, and we are also focusing on corporate and office services such as formation of a company, virtual offices, company liquidation, and corporate documentation management. We also do mergers and acquisitions. Here we can guide clients with mergers, post-transaction support, due diligence, and everything revolving around that. Now, I think by now we have just enough attendees logged in, so I would like to pass on the word to our expert, Agnieszka Samborska. So Agnieszka, you're in control of the slides, and whenever you're ready, please feel free to start.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you. I would like also to thank you all for joining this webinar. I will try to guide you through all employment in Poland areas which were mentioned by Vera, especially from the hiring and firing perspective, because this is something what we get into our practice very, very often, and most of the questions of our clients are usually focused of these two topics, which is hiring and firing. But I will give you also the general overview of Polish employment market and employment rules and the basic knowledge knowledge for the employer, what kind of documentation and what kind of rules are applicable in case of employing someone in Poland. I would like also to give you brief, very, very brief overview of what is coming next to Poland in case of the changes of law, because there is really a lot of things going right now on, which will have influence, not only may, but will have influence on the employment market in Poland and the daily life. So let's start. Mm, uh,
Are you having difficulties controlling the slides?
yes,
Just to
yes,
double
yes.
check. All right, just give me a second. Try to switch back now, please.
Okay, now it works.
Wonderful.
It works. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, great. So, as you know, Poland is quite well big country, one of the biggest in EU. We have right now 37 millions of citizens living in Poland, and it makes Poland really a huge market for employment. So. Poland is very known, especially from the specialists in IT sectors, but also specialists in another sectors. And with relatively low costs of the work, it's also a very advantageous market for the employers. But what you need to know, because really Poland is also developing, and the salaries are growing together with our market. As in all EU countries, Poland has also each year sets up the level of the minimum salary. Right now, the level of the minimum salary is almost 5,000 Polish zlotys. I have recalculated all these numbers into euro with the current exchange rate. So as you see, it's almost, it's over 1,000 euro right now. So it's more than in many EU countries, which may be seen as more developed in Poland. So in case of employment someone for full time, this is the minimal gross salary which should be paid to a person. In case we are employing someone based on minimal on hourly rates, like for example in case of mandate agreements, the minimal hourly rate right now equals to approximately €7.5 per hour. Well, this is interesting because what gives us the overview of the whole market and how much we have to pay for the employees is the average monthly salary in the enterprises sector. So for the whole 2005, it was almost 9,000 Polish zloty gross. So it's over 2,000 euro, and this is for the whole country. Of course, there are areas which are less developed where the salaries are lower, but in case of the capital of Warsaw, where also we are based, the average monthly salary might be even higher. What's interesting, it was higher in December 2005, but right now in January and also February, the average salary dropped down and it's a little bit lower. And it's right now there are rumors that the employee market is a little bit over, and that there are less job positions open right now than it used to be. And also our unemployment rate is a little bit higher than in last year. In January 2026, it was already almost 6%. Last time, the unemployment rate at this level was seen in 2021. So the salaries are growing generally, but there are less job positions. So this is what is happening right now on the market. The growth of the salaries is higher than the inflation, the current inflation rate, and just for you to see a number, the number of the employees, and it's only employees counted, not civil relationships. It's over 6 millions in January 2006 in Poland. So what are the costs? The costs of employment. Here it's the table where I have inserted social and health contributions, which are due from the salaries of each employee, and part of this are paid by the employee, and deducted from the salary, and part of the social and health contributions is added to this amount and is paid by the employer. I'm sure that you are aware of such a mechanism, because it's common in all most of the EU countries. But here, as you can see, just in the end, totally to the summary, because this is what matters, not the particular social security contributions numbers level. It's that from the salary of the employee, over 22% of the salary is deducted, and the same for the employer, that he has add to the salary. So the whole cost for the employer is much higher than only the gross salary. It is also it's important to know how it structures in Poland, and how to calculate the salary level, because very often at the stage of negotiations with the employee of the rates, the employees are very, very often asking for the net amount. So they are interested how much they will get finally to their hands, and when negotiating, it is really necessary to know what is the total cost in the end if we add to this net salary all these social security contributions and also taxes, which will be on this, which are here on the second slide. There is progressive rate in Poland. All taxes are deducted from the employees' salary, so the cost is on the employees. The employer does not have to add any funds to the salary, but it's the payer of taxes. So basically, the employer is responsible for the payment of taxes to the tax office, and this rule applies to all Polish employers which are based in Poland. From our practice, what is important when we are talking about signing employment agreement with the employees, and employees ask us, for example, to put the net amount. So this is not advisable to include net amount of the salary in the contract, because there are many factors which influence the net salary, and for the payroll it's a nightmare to calculate such salaries. The common practice is and should be that to employment contract, we agree with the employees on the gross salary. And there are web pages in Poland when the employees can check how much they will earn net, and how much they will receive in the end, when all these social security contributions will be deducted. So always in the employment agreement, please input the gross amount, and what is important, gross monthly amount. In our practice, we came into such situation that there was the annual salary was inputted and inserted into the contract. This is not a good practice, and also it's against the law, because the salary in Poland it's paid monthly. But I will talk also later about the employment contracts, and I can give you some instructions how to construct it. Here, for your information, you can find examples of calculations. So all these items I was talking about here on the numbers. The first is the minimal salary. So if someone has 4,800 Polish zloty, later on, the net amount which will be paid to this person is 3,600 Polish zloty, but the total cost for the employee it's almost 5,800 Polish zlotys. And the same later on with the salaries amount. As you can see in the last position, if someone is earning 20,000 Polish zloty gross, which is really huge amount, in the end the amount amounts the net amount amounts to 13 or well, almost 14,000 Polish zlotys. But this is also not including this calculation the all the months, 12 months, because with such high level of salary, the employee must be concerned that he will pay the higher tax, because already as you know, the progressive rate 12 and 32% comes here, so he will in fact earn in some months even less than this 40,000 Polish zlotys. And really, with such high amounts, the employees are negotiating for for net amounts. So they may ask for 20,000 net 20,000 net. Very common question which we get during our practice is whether do I need a registered company in Poland to hire an employee there? Basically, if we have a foreign company who wants to employ, for example, one person, well, to check the market, to make some sales activities or advertising activities, well, to employ someone and set up the whole limited liability company or even a branch office, it's additional administrative burden, and also it's connected with, of course, higher costs of establishment of a special entity, but also later on there are accounting and also payroll obligation which should be observed by such company. So whether it's possible? Yes, it is possible that if you would like to enter Polish market and, for example, employ only one person, not to open a company here, but employ someone directly. And this is very, very often situation. We have many clients on payroll, especially in such situation that foreign company does not establish company in Poland, but hires someone directly. But what is important to know, such situation differs a little bit from the situation if we have Polish employer. Basically, in case the main difference is seen in case of payment of personal income tax. As I said before, the payer of the taxes to the tax office is the employer, usually, always Polish employer, which means that this employer is responsible and liable for the timely payment of monthly advances for personal income tax. But in case there is a foreign employer, our law says something opposite. In such case, the employee is the payer, which means that the employee will have to observe additional administrative burden, which means that this employee will have to pay each month directly to the tax office the personal income tax advance. This is not usual situation for the employees, therefore it is important to inform them that it will look this way when you are looking for a candidate to work and you do not aim to open a company in Poland. And it's not possible to change the situation. The employer cannot act as the taxpayer in this case. In this case, it will be always employee. When it comes to social and health, social security and health contributions, then the payer can be employer on the employee. In case of employer, it is important that the foreign company, has to obtain Polish tax identification number. And we are providing such service. It lasts approximately from 2 weeks to 1 month. We need basically the excerpt from the register, and we are applying for the registration of Polish tax identification number. This tax identification number is used only for the purpose for registration in Social Security Office. It's not used for the payment of taxes unless the company registers later for VAT, but this is totally different topic, not the topic of this webinar. What is important for you to know is that before you employ someone and register in Social Security Office, then you need to obtain Polish tax identification number. There is also an alternative way. You can sign agreement, special agreement with employee, that the employee takes over the obligations of the payer of the social security contributions, and such agreements should be then registered and submitted to social security contributions. In our practice, we have also such situation that the employee is responsible for the payment both of taxes and also for the payment of social security contributions. So this it's possible. Mm. So, as you saw, as you have seen, employment agreement are quite when it comes to costs and the amount of the salary. The employees are not very often not fans of it because the main the deduction of the amount of the deduction from the salary it's really huge. So there are, and also for the employers, it's not advantageous because the amount of the total cost, the super gross cost of the employment is quite it's quite high. So there are alternatives of when it comes to the employment in Poland, and these are basically civil law agreements or some other agreements. The most important and the most commonly used are civil law agreements, which is mandate contract. This is very often used. Specific task contract, management contract, or B2B cooperation. Uh, there are also another flexible models via third-party providers. So, like in all, I think EU countries, we have possibility to employ someone through temporary work agency. There are, of course, limitations, and these limitations are are met because of the institution is temporary work, so the work can be only temporary. It's not for permanent employment. Some of someone. So through temporary work agency, we can get employees for 18 months during 36 months. So the person cannot be permanently employed based on temporary work agency contract and temporary work agreement. I will not talk more about temporary work in Poland. It's very broad topic, but I just would like to mention that it's only temporary, yes. So you can employ someone through such agency, but not permanently. So what is seen, it's and also right now very common, it's outsourcing of employees. So this is some kind of leasing of employees. So what is important to know, because we really get many questions regarding it, and we also have clients who work based on this model. First of all, outsourcing of employees, and by outsourcing, I mean that, for example, you are coming to our company asking us if we can employ, for example, an accountant, and this accountant will work for your company and will work in your office and will do only things for the for your company, will do the bookings, but still the former employer will be us. But the employee, for example, will have to obey also orders of the client. So, and this will be permanent, for example, permanent employment, and we will get monthly fees for such model. So it seems like we are leasing the employee to another company. This is this model. So first of all, this model is totally not regulated in Polish law. all these kind of outsourcing models are a little bit kind of gray area. It is possible to implement such model, but it's based on the assumption that we are not selling people, but we are selling services. So in fact, we are providing a service, and the contract in such case must be constructed this way that we are not providing particular people, but providing, for example, accounting services to the company. It is also worth to somehow show that the employee is our subordinate, not the subordinate of the client. Why? Because there were cases, and there is such risk that in such case of outsourcing of such model, in case of such model, that, for example, the Social Security Office will state that the real employer is the client, and that this is in fact fake employment relationship. And in such case, it may state that all Social Security contributions are in fact due from the client, not from us. So it is very important to properly prepare the agreement for outsourcing of employees, and also from your perspective, in case you are using such employees, to look into this agreement and see whether it is really constructed in properly to avoid any risk in the future. As I said, right now it's not regulated by Polish law formally, and there are no plans to regulate it right now. Let's skip to the employment relationship characteristics, because I would like to talk a little bit about new law coming into the Poland into Poland, which is the classification of civil law relationships into employment contracts by the labor law inspectors during audit. This is something what was very highly discussed in Poland last year, at the end of last year. Finally, it was not introduced because our prime minister decided not to introduce such law. But right now, it's coming one more time into our government works, and also I think that it will go further to our parliament, and finally, such law will be adopted in Poland. So what is important to know? The differences between the employment relationship and the civil law relationship. In case of employment, it's defined in our labor code that employment relationship characteristics are that the specific work is performed for the employer under the employer's direction and supervision. At the place and time specified by the employer, work is performed personally by the employee, and there is also limited liability of the employee, which, as you may know, in case of for any damage caused to the employer, it's basically 3 monthly salaries. So in case employee does some damage to us, unless it was his direct fault that he did it on purpose, then his liability is limited only to 3 monthly salaries. And also in case of employment or social technical risk, and social and technical risk are borne by the employer. Additionally, in case of employment agreements and employment relationships, there are specific rights of employees, like right to holidays, overtime payment. There is also remuneration during sickness in Poland applies, and also there are very specific provisions on protection from termination. And the working time standards and systems are also defined in Polish law. It's not so Polish employment law. It's not so elastic when it comes to working time systems than, for example, the law in UK. Or US, and yes, we have clients which were surprised that they cannot employ someone based on employment agreement on, for example, different number of hours each month. Well, it's Okay, let's go further. When it comes to civil relationships, well, it's why we are using this in Poland, because they are really also commonly used in Poland, especially mandate agreements and B2B agreements. Well, when it comes to B2B agreements, it's because of the amount of the salary, the economical reasons. Basically, if someone is on B2B agreement, he earns more because he can decide on the tax rate. And the progressive rate will not, well, no one is deciding on progressive rate. There might be flat rate. There might be also some fixed rate, which are lower, basically in the end, which are lower than progressive rate, especially when we are earning more. And also the social security contributions are lower in case a person decides to pay it from certain level. So this is very, it's very very advantageous for the tempting for the employees to use B2B agreements. And also this is more elastic because there is no protection from termination. And in case of employment agreements, there is such protection. Also, in case of, for example, of mandate agreements, in such case, the amount of the salary and social security contributions are almost the same, like in case of employment, so it's not such a huge value. Only in case of students, when we are employing students, it's usually based on mandate agreement, because until 26th year they do not pay taxes, and in case they study, they also do not pay social security contributions if they are employed based on mandate agreement. It's more elastic because we do not have to meet requirements of employment law, labor law in Poland, and it's very elastic when it comes to termination, but also working time. Also, in case of working time, B2B agreements and mandate agreements are more elastic. But what is the characteristic of the civil law relationship? In theory, the equality of parties, and also freedom of contract, which means that there are no strict rules, like in case of employment agreements. Parties may structure the legal relationship and their discretion, as long as the content or purpose of the contract is not contrary to the nature of the legal relationship, applicable law, or principles of community life. There are, of course, provisions in our civil code when it comes to mandate agreement, but really parties can sign agreement contrary to it and decide on many provisions. So it's really more elastic than employment law. But what is coming to Poland? As I said, the general rule is that work performed under conditions characteristic of an employment relationship shall be treated as employment, regardless of the contract title. So, in case we have civil law relationship, but this person works under our supervision and follows orders, works each day from 9 to 5, works in our office, and it's generally our subordinate. That then, in such case, the civil law relationship, which we have conducted, is in fact employment relationship, and this law, it's binding for many years. And in case of some controls, there are cases where the employment relationship was established in case of civil law relationship, but usually in such case it ends in courts, and it's not really effective to exercise this enforce this law in Poland. And it's going to be changed because our labor law inspectors will have such rights doing the control to reclassify the agreement from civil into employment based on administrative decision. It's right now a project. The project also assumes that, first of all, the labor law inspector will ask us to change it. And if it's not done, then he or she will issue such administrative decision. But this is much more enforceable in such case, yes, this law, because it will be done only based on the decision. And there will be possibility to change such decision by appealing to the labor court, and this will go like civil proceedings. This is very unpleasant consequence, because what it will mean if such a classification will come into force? Well, it will basically mean that the social security contributions taxes will need to be paid as if the employment relationship existed. And this is discussed right now. So for how many months back it will be due, because in fact, and it should be due for the years for the years before, which are not overdue. And it may really hurt the employers, basically, because the employers are the payers of the taxes and social security contributions, as I said. So basically, all the due amounts will be due from them, not from the employee. Employee will also get, for example, VAT, yes, back, but all the due amounts will be paid from the employer, and there will be struggles to get something from the employee. In such cases. So what is important is to first of all audit the agreements which you have. It concerns all agreements, not only B2B agreements, but also civil mandate agreements, and to first of all check in the agreements whether there are any points which may light this red lamp, as we now say very often, into the mind of the labor law inspector, that this is employment relationship. And here what I'm talking about and what are the recommended actions. So the civil law contract cannot contain elements characteristic of an employment relationship. So, for example, fixed working hours, obligation to follow the supervisor's or the employee level limitation of liability. It's often in case we sign B2B agreement, and we do not define the liability. The liability basically is not the liability is basically not limited, and it's, of course, people do not want to sign such agreement. They want to limit the liability the best the same as on the level of the of employees, but it's not recommended, because such limitation really points to the employment agreement. The same with right to holidays. We shouldn't write directly that this person on B2B or mandate will have the right to holidays. Well, good, it's not to write anything about this, and basically such person will not be paid for the holidays or for the sick leave. But in case we would like to pay someone, well, there is possibility to introduce such provision, that the person will have the right to the remuneration during the time from refraining from work. So we'll have such possibility to, during several days, agreed with the client to not to work, and to get the pay also for these days. But it's important to write it in special way in the agreement, that it's not holidays, but the time when this person refrains from work, basically. At the same time, very important, it's to insert into the agreement and clauses which emphasize provisions which emphasize the professionalism and independence of the contractor to show that really this person is independent and there is such equality of partners. Of course, it's, in theory, usually the economic partner, which is economically stronger, it's also stronger party into the contract. Also, what I want, what I can tell you that when it comes, for example, on the equipment which we are working on, it shouldn't be given free to such person. If we are, for example, providing a laptop or computer to our B2B contractor, that we can sign lease agreement that this person pays us for such for these elements, for this equipment, and this is really also very common, and it helps us to show that it's a civil law relationship, not employment agreement. So there are many tricks like this which can be used, but in the end, what really matters are the real conditions in which the services are provided and the work is performed, not only what is written into the contract, but the real conditions. But good start is always what is written into the contract, and to check and avoid anything which may lead to assumption that it's in fact employment relationship, not civil law relationship. Okay, so we finished this part. If there were any questions, I will answer them in the end. Now we will go to the types of employment agreements. I will really try to talk really generally and about the employment rules in Poland to give you some overview. Polish law, it's very characteristic, and it's commonly said that it's really in favor of the employees, and it's very protective from the employees, especially from firing, which, as I said, it's hiring and firing are the questions which we are getting the most often. So there are three types of employment agreement in Poland, and it must be written into employment agreement. We should decide which type of employment agreement we are signing. So this is employment agreement for trial period, which can be maximum 3 months, and can precede any agreement from definite or indefinite period. So in case we have agreement for definite period, it may be concluded for maximum 33 months, and only 3 such agreements may be concluded in a row. In case we have a contract which is exceeding this month or its 4th contract, then automatically such contract is treated as indefinite period employment agreement. And this indefinite period employment agreement provides the strongest employment protection. When we are hiring someone, it's worth to know that we need also to meet some conditions and obtain many documents from the employee. Payroll and HR companies are helping with that and organizing everything for the employers, or you need to have such person in your company which will know all the rules and will go through the registration formalities of new employee. So, well, first step is, of course, registration of the employer in the social security contributions institution. So it's ZUS in Polish, but I will say in English, social security institution. And each employer, well, it's obliged to have account in electronic system in our account in our electronic system of the social security contributions. Well, here's mistake. It should be employers, not employees, but employees also have accounts there. But it's for the payers of the taxes and social security contributions. These electronic platforms. The occupational health and safety training, it's obligatory to be performed before we employ someone and before they start the work. Medical checkup, yes, to check whether this person can work. Yes, registration of employer and employee in Social Security Office. We should do it within 7 days. In practice, our Social Security institutions, it's not well, it's better than tax office and other institutions, maybe I will say this way. And it's not usually nothing will happen if we are late. If we are late with the registrations, it's well, it happens. It happens. So no fine, no rather no fines are imposed in such cases. It's not. It's not. It's not. The life and death situation if we are late with the registration, but it should be done within 7 days. And the employee need to complete many statements like personal questionnaire on personal income tax advances, social security declarations regarding, for example, registration of family members or using some social security institutions, GDPR statements. Yes, it's also important to follow GDPR rules by the employers. And if we employ someone, especially when it comes to foreigners, we need to uh, follow the rules of employment of such people and obtain work permits or make special notification, especially in case of Ukrainian citizens. The law is changing really from month to month. And we need to follow all the rules and check whether someone stays legally in Poland and also has the title to legal work in Poland. It's very important because if we have foreigner and this person does not have work permit, for example, to work for our company, because basic work permit allows the foreigner to work only for the company which is indicated, then in such case this work will be considered as illegal work with all these consequences which are related to illegal employment of foreigners in Poland. The required obligatory documentation. So here I will go briefly. I will not tell you like point by point what should be included in the employment agreement. The presentation will be sent to you later, so you can check it. What I would like to emphasize here is that Polish law provides elements which are obligatory in the employment agreement. And it's good to follow such rule that we should keep the employment agreement as simple as possible and to include there only these provisions which are required by law, so are obligatory, and also provisions which we would like to add, like confidentiality. Well, it's provided by law, and that the employees should keep confidentiality, but it's also very commonly used that we also add such provisions into the agreement. But besides that, we keep the elements which are required by law, which is for the type of the contract, yes, type of the job position, the remuneration, amount of working time, work commencement date. And as you can see, there are not all elements which are needed for the employee to know. Like, for example, working time system. So if someone is employed in harmonized system or tax based, it's all working or settlement periods. As you can see, these are not part of the employment agreement because it should be included in different documents. And why it's better to do it like this? It's because any change to employment agreement should be done in a way of like termination of the conditions of work and pay. And in case of indefinite and definite agreements, we need to provide a reason of each change. And also, there is this like termination notice. The employees also may decide that they do not want to change, do not want this change by the half of the period of the termination. Then they can, for example, resign from work with shorter period, and it's really very very interesting. But because it concerns not only the changes which are not advantageous for the employee, but also another changes, like for changes of remuneration, which is usually the increase of the remuneration. It's also it's good practice to sign annex in such case to the employment agreement that we increase remuneration, because otherwise, in fact, we should give like termination regarding, it's not like termination of the employment contract, but the termination of working and time, working and pay. And pay conditions, of course. In theory, in practice, no one is doing it. It's applicable and commonly used. The annexes to the employment contracts are commonly used, and it's important to keep and follow this rule. Besides employment agreement, the employer must provide the employee with information, including like this is we name it supplementary or additional information to the employment agreement, but it's not employment agreement, and it can be changed easier way than employment agreement. So here there is list, and it's also not not everything. These are examples. It's a little bit longer, but for example, if we do not have work regulations, then definition of a nighttime, what is considered as nighttime in Poland, or methods of confirming arrival and presence at work, and for justification of absences, also daily and weekly rest periods, length of paid leaves should be included in such information, rules for terminating the employment relationship. So basically many rules which are included in the labor code. We can provide only the labor code provision numbers, for example. Yes, we do not have to write all the rules, and this is good practice, because if we do it and the provision is changing, then we do not need to give to the employee new information, but the provision is changing, and our information can be still in use. It's still current, and it provides the proper data. So many items which are not included in employment agreement will be included in this additional information, which is obligatory to be provided to the employee. Another regulations which are mandatory. So part of them depends on the number of employees which we are employing, and usually the number which is crucial and critical, it's 50 employees. But all employers should provide employees about information on working time systems and schedules, as well as adopted working time settlement periods. And it can be done either in collective labor agreement, workplace regulations, or employers' announcement. And this obligation applies to all employers, and labor law inspectors during audit, they are checking. They are really checking whether such rules were provided to the employees. So in fact, we do not have to write in the employment agreement what is the working time system, but we can include it we should include it in such information. The rest, workplace regulation, remuneration regulation, they are required from employers employing at least 50 people. Social fund regulations, also 50 FTEs, but they are counted differently. As of first of all, there must be full-time employees. Well, we are counting, yes, the full-time number of full-time employees. And as of first January of a given year, we will be obliged to introduce social fund regulations. Whistleblower regulations, these starting last year, Poland finally implemented the whistleblowers directive. They are required for employers which employ at least 50. We have 50 FTEs. Here also we are counting differently, but also civil law contractors and also many other people which are cooperating with us, but not only employees. And it's counted as of 1st January or 1st July. And there are also special categories, like for example, legal officers, especially AML obligated entities, which are required to have these whistleblowers regulations, notwithstanding of the number of employees. Remote work regulations are required if a remote work is applied. Also, there is in case of remote work, it's very specific for Poland. It's not, topic of this webinar, so I will not go into details. But for example, in Poland, there is obligations to, if someone is working remotely and it's agreed in the working regulations or in the contract, then we have to pay, for example, for the electricity. Yes, part of the electricity and internet bills of such person, which they use at home, and which, like for example, the employer has to pay for this for this part used for the work. Yes, because the employer, yes, is using the employees electricity. And there are usually, we are the fixed rate is agreed each month, for each month, and it's paid and added to the salary of the employee. But it's it's obligatory, so we need to follow these rules. Also, GDPR documentation, it's also not part of this webinar, but there are some documents, like at minimum, as I mentioned here, the information clause, which should be followed by the employer. And also, what I didn't mention here, for example, the rules on funding funding glasses for the employees. There is such rule in Poland that, if in case someone is working basically in front of the computer, then the employer should pay basically for the glasses, just to make it simple. And also rules of such funding of glasses or the contact lenses should be introduced into our organization. Poland has also introduced, right now, several years ago, employee capital plans. This is, it's not obligatory, it's voluntary saving system, funds for the pension, for the retirement of people. Employee can join or not join the employee capital plans. The employer is obliged to join if it employs at least one person. Should sign agreement with the institution, because the funds are governed by special institutions, not by the employers. And this institution should be chosen by the employees together with the employer. And in case the people would like to join this program, this employee capital plans, at least one person would like to join this program, then we have additional obligation in our monthly payroll. The employer has to sign agreement with the institution, and also the employee also has to sign such agreement. It has to be be included. The only exception applies to micro entrepreneurs in case all people who would like who are entitled to join PPK resign from it, micro, so less than 9 employees, then we do not have to sign any agreements with special institutions. Well, many people are joining, many are resigning. What we need to remember that each for a year there is like check whether person would like to join. So it's we need to be aware of this term, and if someone decides to join, then there are some payment from the state. Here you can see also the employer is obliged to pay additional pension, additional contribution, and the also a part of the salary is also deducted, and it's paid to the fund, and it's possible also to pay additional contributions, but the maximum amount, it's regulated by law. We have many topics, and it's already 12. I hope that all is interesting. So we will now discuss the determination of agreements, because it happens that, well, maybe the reasons are really different from case to case. So either we are not proud of our employee, or basically there are economical reasons which lead us to such decision that we would like to finish the cooperation with someone. And we have I see here is some mistakes. So there are three ways, basic three ways to terminate a contract. First is mutually agree with the employee on termination and sign a mutual agreement on termination. And there is mistake on the first item. We will update it on the final version of the presentation. So first, to mutually agree with someone, and this is the best solution to sign such mutual agreement. Either it's termination with notice or termination without notice in case of very severe infringements done by the employer. The periods are on the right side of the slide, so you can see what are the periods of the termination notice. What is discussed basically, this we should not change this termination notice periods, because as I said, the labor law, it's not so elastic like like civil law, for example. Generally, it is said that in case we decide that these are longer, and this is in favor for the employee, then we can change it. For example, if we employ someone for an indefinite period, and we would like to give some additional benefit to this person, then we can state that in case we will be terminating the agreement, we need to do it with 3 months termination notice. But in case this person would like to terminate the agreement, the statutory rules will apply. But some say that we can also change it to 3 months, that it's generally in favor of the employee. I am concerned here, and we never advise this way. We advise to follow the labor law code rules, and do not change these periods unless it's really only in favor of the employee. So it is longer on the side of employer. Well, in case of termination notice given for definite and indefinite contract, we need to provide the reason. And this is this area which employers always come to us and say what reasons we should include. Why? Because employee has the right to appeal to the labor code from the within 21 days from the date of the termination notice was delivered. And the labor court, can decide that, for example, this employee will be later on reinstated to work, and say that the reasons which were provided, for example, in the termination notice were not real, and the termination notice should be not it's not effective. So the reason, well, Poland does not provide list of reasons. Yes, it must be, for example, lack of the trust to the employee, or not performing the work at the level which we would like to do. But here we need to be really, really clear in the termination notice and write exactly and in understandable way for the employee why we are firing this person. And the alternative, what is really common in Poland, is that to give possibility to sign agreement that we mutually agree on termination of the contract. So usually there's a choice during this unpleasant final talk with the employee, provided that either we give you the termination notice and you will have it in papers because it's later on stated in papers who terminated, or you can sign this mutual agreement on termination notice. This is for advance for the employer, because from such mutual agreement there is no right to appeal to the court, and the way it's closed. We can give some additional benefits for the employee in such agreement, for example, one additional salary. Otherwise, no additional salary is due to the employee. Only the salary for the termination notice, unused holidays. This is due to the employee. Well, unless it's not severance, yes, payment. So the reason can be attributable to the employee, or it can be not non-attributable to the employee. Like for example, we are liquidating job position, or there are some economical reasons. It must be also real, because also from such kind of termination, the employee will have the right to appeal to the court. But in such case of reasons which are not attributable to the employee, it's much more harder to prove for the employee that they are not real. There is, as I said, a possibility to, in such case, we are firing someone due to the reasons which are not attributable to the employee, and we are employing at least 20 people, then we will have to pay severance pay, so additional salary to this employee. And here the amounts are also listed. So, for example, if someone is employed less than 2 years, he is entitled to receive additionally 1 month's remuneration. It's worth to know that it's not only in case of termination notice, but also if we are signing mutual agreement from our initiative, also such severance pay will be paid. So it is worth to mention in the mutual agreement in such case that it was the initiative, for example, of the employee, or the parties mutually agreed yes on it, and then we will not be obliged to pay this severance pay. Well, in case we are firing more people, like for example, in case we employ 20 people, we are firing 10 people, then we must be aware that also there is special law on collective redundancies, and that we must follow this law. But here it's not the topic of this webinar. Just please be aware that there is such obligation to follow. There are also periods, well, there are also reasons which are protecting from termination. And here, the main reasons are providing, for example, doing justified absence from work. We cannot fire someone. There is also pre-retirement protection in Poland, so within 4 years before reaching retirement, we cannot fire someone. Right now, retirement age for women in Poland is 60, for men 65. Pregnancy. Also, if a person does not know that she's pregnant, we fire her. She gets to know later. She can be reinstated to work. In case of all parental leaves, maternity, yes, parental paternity. There is also trade union protection, but not for the all trade union members, but also only those indicated by the trade union. But this is very particular provisions. We do not have time to discuss it right now. And also, when someone is applying for childcare leave, upbringing leave, then we have we cannot fire someone. There are also another reasons, but these are the main reason which you should be aware of. So usually people, if they do not want to be fired and they still want to be employed, they go on a sick leave, because during a sick leave we cannot fire someone, and sometimes the sick leaves are very, very long. And well, we can also fire someone without notice, and this is, as we say, disciplinary firing. It must be really severe violation of basic employee duties, or commission of an offense preventing further employment in a given position, and this offense might be obvious or confirmed by a final court judgment, or in case someone loses required license or qualifications due to his her fault. For example, stops to be legal advisor because of some, disciplinary proceedings against such persons. Then we have a reason within 1 month, since we know this reason, to fire someone without notice. There are also non-disciplinary reasons, health related. So, for example, if someone is unable to work due to illness more than 3 months, if this person is employed less than 6 months, or longer than total period of receiving remuneration, welfare, sickness benefits, plus 3 months of rehabilitation allowance if it's employed for at least 6 months. So here, well, it's almost half a year. When after if someone is not in work due to sickness, then we can fire someone without notice. But people know these provisions, and they come to work, come back to work, then go one more time on the leave. So there are some possibilities to prolong the employment in the company if really someone does not want to be fired. Well, we have some topics to be left. So left. Okay, so I will really talk really briefly. Working time system defined in Polish law. The most common is basic working time systems. It means basically we work 8 hours per day, each day in a week. There is also equivalent working time system, and then it's used in shops usually. Then in some days we work 12 hours, and some days, for example, 4 hours, and we have a schedule, monthly schedule, and each day when we have to come to work. And also third commonly used time system, beneficial for the employer. It's a task-based working time system. It's beneficial because it's harder for the employee to prove the overtime if he works based on this system, and the employee basically independently determines the schedule to complete assigned tasks, but the amount of the tasks must be as much as this person can fit into this 8 hours. I will not talk about another working time systems, but we cannot decide, really as strictly that this person, if we employ someone that, for example, this month this person will work, 20 hours and next month 18. Then we will have to sign agreement for each month, and employment relationship is really not so lasting. Rather, mandate agreements are used in this case. Overtime, very shortly, yes, there is overtime in Poland. In case of normal situations like standards, it's additionally to the remuneration, 50% additional remuneration. In special circumstances, really, it's not everything it's mentioned here. Like, for example, during work at night, we give 100% additional remuneration. And basically, employer decides what is the night. Yes, it's not when it comes dark, but in these documents, we decide that the time from 12 to 6. It's sorry, the 10 p.m. to, for example, 6 a.m. is considered as night. And if someone works during this time, that he is allowed to additional 100% of remuneration. Alternatively, there is a possibility to give time free. If the employee requests for time free, it is given in the proportion 1-to-1. If it's from the initiative of the employer request, then the amount of the time fee is higher. It's 1.5 proportion. So one and a half, basically, where we are giving not 1 day back, but 1 day and 4 hours, 4 hours back. Vacation and sick leave. Vacation in Poland, it's 20 days if someone is employed less than 10 years, or 26 days if the employee has at least 10 years of employment. To this 10 years, for example, the time of studies counts. So if someone finished studies, it is considered that he already worked for 8 years. So he needs only 2 years to reach this 26 days of holidays. And there were also changes in Polish law, and many more periods are counted right now to this 10 years of employment. So people are reaching this 26 days faster. Right now, sickness remuneration, it's 100%, 80% of regular remuneration, depending on the cause of incapacity. Usually with standard sick leaves is 80%. 100% is, for example, if there was like accident at work, and it's paid by the employer for the first 33 days of incapacity. Later on is paid by Social Security contribution. There are plans that the Social Security institution will take over these obligations since the beginning. We come to the end. This is last slide. What is going on in Poland regarding the EU Pay Transparency Directive? It's discussed in all EU countries. So what you need to know, the basic, that Poland has not implemented this fully, this pay directive. We have right now only project of law, but the deadline for implementation in case of all EU countries, not only Poland, is 7th of June this year. And this EU Pay Transparency Directive will impose many obligations, especially on larger employers employing at least 100 people, but it will have influence on smaller employers. For example, the employees, well, they will have right to get information about average salaries in their categories of employees. And right now, all employees, it's really advisable to analyze the amount of salaries in our organization and check whether we have the gap between men and women, because this directive is aiming to equal the work. If the work is the same or of the same value, the amount of salary should be the same, and there should be no differences between men and women unless there are some objective reasons which provide that the amount of salary is different. We have not implemented this directive yet. What was implemented, it's only the stage of interviews with candidates. So the remuneration starting wage. And also, for example, rules of the remuneration regulation, if we have it, it should be provided to the candidate to work either in the job advertisement before the interview and before entering into an employment relationship. And it must be an information, not an offer of employment. So it's important to know how to structure it. And also a change which was very broadly discussed in Poland is that the job titles must be gender neutral. And also the advert for work must be written in non-discriminatory manner so that we do not we do not say that we are looking, we are only using the like masculine, but it must be really non-discriminatory manner, and each job advert should write that we are looking for a man or for a woman, that it's that we can employ, that the gender it does not matter. In this case, it was introduced in December last year, and it's already enforced, this rule, and it's important to follow it. So that's all. I know there were many informations. If there were some questions,
Yes,
I
there
will be
were
happy to answer.
actually.
Great.
Thank you so much, Agnieszka. I think this was extremely useful and detail-oriented. Maybe just a funny thing regarding the European pay transparency. I know that Polish language is not gender neutral, so it's going to be quite
Yes,
a challenge to stay gender
it is.
neutral.
It is because some really feminine job positions names are very funny.
Yes.
And yes, and in fact, in my opinion, it's more discriminatory than to use, men.
Yeah,
Only the
indeed.
masculine way of
Well,
naming.
that's another challenge on the employer's plate. But let's take a look at the Q&A. And funny enough, you did answer actually some of the questions on the go, such as elaborating on specific provisions that protect employees against determination. You did mention on a specific slide these items. But for example, there is also a question about indefinite contract. And the
Mhm.
question is if the notice period can be longer than what is stated by the law, which was 3 months in case
Mhm.
of the managerial position.
Well, this is what I mentioned. Yes, that we can do it in case this is in favor of the employee. Some let's say law specialists, they allow that we can do it 3 months also for the employee, that it will be 3 months for this person, but in fact it's not in favor of the employee, so we should not interfere into this type of agreement. Well, alternatively, we can sign a management contract, which is the civil law contract, with all the risk, which I also mentioned during this webinar.
I see. Thank you so much for answering. Another person from the audience is asking, how strong is the pre-retirement protection? And
It's
what
very
about...
strong.
Mhm.
It's strong. It's strong, and it's really in case. Well, I did not have time to mention, because sometimes it's not, in case we are, for example, liquidating a company, that it's not binding in such cases. But there are only like 2 or 3 cases in law when it's not binding, this protection. Otherwise, we need to follow it. And as I am getting older, so for me it's it's hard to see that sometimes really people are fired just before this retirement period.
Mhm.
It happens. It happens in Poland.
And are there, the person is also asking about the reorganization reasons, like are
Yes,
reorganization reasons?
well, reorganization, it's only in case we have like formal reorganization, some kind of bankruptcy proceedings, then we can do it. Or if we have we are applying this collective redundancies, yes. But this is really like more detailed analysis in such case should be applied and should be checked whether we can fire someone.
Thank you for answering that. The next question is actually two people are asking the same question about the 8-hour working time, whether lunch break is actually included or not in these 8 hours.
This is very interesting question because in fact in Poland by law only 15 minutes is included, but there is possibility to provide longer break which is not included. So for it, and it can be up to 1 hour, maximum 1 hour. It should be stated at least in the employment contract or in case we have working regulations in place, then in these working regulations, that for example half hour for lunch is not included into the working time, and people should go on it. And so, for example, they are in fact 8.5 hours in work, and it's possible. Otherwise, it's 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for answering that. We have another question about overtime. How are overtime hours regulated for director level positions? Whether they are prohibited under?
Might be here it might be a little bit different. And usually managers they do overtime, and it's considered they are not paid. Not paid for it unless there are always cases where someone can challenge the law, but usually it is like it's similar like a working time system that we are also expected for the managers that they will work more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not basically it's not paid.
Thank you so much for answering. We still have 5 minutes left, so for the attendees, feel free to submit still your questions if you have any. I would like to personally go back a little bit to the Pay Transparency Directive because it is going to be a huge topic, and we are also planning more webinars and studies on this topic, also concerning Poland. But maybe from my understanding, it's still like a big question mark in Poland, what it is going to look like specifically. But are there any specific industries that are likely to be most affected?
I think it with industries. I did not. I was not looking to it. Basically, there will be industries where they where the women are specialists.
Mm-hmm.
Because the biggest gap it's at the specialist position. If we look, and this is in the whole EU, that the normal is like 7%, and if we see the expert specialists, it can be even 20%. Why? Because the standards is that if we are employing someone, then this person is telling us how much they would like to earn. If it's less, then we are of course employing someone who is asking for less, and women are usually asking less than men, and that's why this gap occurs. So in these industries, and especially in larger employers, there will be reporting, and the gap if the gap will be higher than 5%, then there must be the special actions will have to be taken by the employers. So for sure, these industries will be the most affected, but I expect that all industries will be affected, and it will touch not only men and women differences, but also differences in case of people who are working on different positions, but the work value, it's equal.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's a very good perspective on the problem or the topic. Actually, we have one more question from the audience, and it's asking about temporary and indefinite contracts, whether they should be separate contracts or all is covered in one contract.
I think it's about trial period. So I know that I think in Czech Republic there is this practice that we are signing agreement for 3 months, and then in the same agreement we are signing that afterwards it prolongs into indefinite contract. And our clients are also we saw such contracts in Polish. So it is it is not like Well, it's a mistake. It's a mistake
Mm-hmm.
because there are different types of contracts. It's according to law in Poland we have there are different type of contracts: trial period and indefinite. So first of all, in case we are signing such agreement, then we are not following the law, which requires from us to include in the employment agreement the type of the contract, which means one type of the contract, and there might be only there might be also some doubts what kind of contract, what in fact included. So if there is possibility, it's better to sign two contracts because really it's not a problem. Yes, that we have someone for 3 months and then this person is it's employed for indefinite period, and this is the correct way. But in case there are such contracts already in place, then always the courts will take the well always usually in such cases the court will take the side of the employee, and such contract will be considered as indefinite contract.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for answering. We have another question from the audience regarding pay transparency, whether it's mandatory to state the salary or remuneration in the job ad, or is it enough sending email to shortlisted candidates?
The second is it's enough because we have all these are alternatives. So it's job advert, or before the interview. We can do it before interview, or if we have not done it before interview or in the job advert, then before employing someone. But as I said, formally, it shouldn't be job offer, but information. It should be just information. It not comes from the employee how much this person would like to earn, but it should come from us. The practice right now it's still as it was. We will see whether it will be changing, and I'm sure it will be changing when Poland implements the directive.
Thank you so much. And we have no more questions from the audience, and we're also up with time. So maybe it's the best
Great.
opportunity to actually wrap up the webinar. So thank you all again for joining today and for being part of this webinar. And a very special thank you goes to our speaker, Agnieszka Samborska, for sharing these valuable insights and this information for employers in Poland. I really hope that this session gave a clear understanding of the Polish labor law and what to expect when you're hiring or employing in Poland. Of course, if you have any further questions or would like to continue the conversation, please feel free to reach out to us after the webinar. As a follow-up, we will be sharing the presentation and also the recording and a short feedback form so that you can express your opinion, and it will be provided to you via email. So thank you again, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you on our other upcoming events. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.